Hey, this is Richard Chansey, and I am really excited that you took a few minutes just to sign up for our free resources. I want to give you a couple of ideas about how you can make the most of what we're making available to you here, and then talk to you about where to go from here when we're done with that. So hang in there, and I'm going to walk you through the site just for a second. Okay, so let's get started. I wanted to show you the main page of the site before we got inside, just so you'll know your way around the front end of the membership site. You'll notice that the URL or the website is 24toDoublemembers.org. One other little trick, we know that that is a mouthful, so if you can also go to doublechurch.com, and if you select that, you'll see it pops you in there right there. It's just a redirect domain. So this is the main page of the site. Here's a video here. If you need to share information with other people in your church or on a committee, this video on the main page is probably the place to start. It's 4 minutes long and gives an overview, a brief overview of 24toDouble, as well as shares some of the experiences other pastors have had. If you are, for whatever reason, you don't already have a login credentials for the free part of the membership site, then you would get that by filling out your first name and email address here. If you scroll down just a little bit, there's some more written information about the program, 2 different columns here, and then this hyperlink takes you to the blog page where we're constantly writing new information for you, and hopefully very soon we'll have some of you guys writing on there. And then if you scroll all the way down, you'll see 4 testimonials here from pastors that have been all the way through the 24toDouble process. Now there are almost 300 churches that have been through the process. These are some of the guys that filled out the survey recently and sent it back to us, and I just kind of took clips of their comments and put them on there. Now, if we click the login button, it's going to take us over the login page, but I want to pause for just a second and tell you that you should have gotten an email that looks something like this one. This is a dummy account. I actually sent this to myself so I could show it to you, but this is the URL for the landing page, and then it'll have your email address and an auto-generated password that's in there for you. So you would just click that link. It'll take you over to this page. Then you would put your email address in, and you can copy and paste the password there. So I'm going to pause for a second and go ahead and log in. Okay, if this is the first time that you've logged in, you probably noticed that you ended up on this overview page. This is the video you're watching right now. It may look a little bit different because I'm actually recording it now, and I put a picture in there as a placeholder. But you'll find the breakdown of each one of the modules here. So you can go through there and take a look at that. This page could be really beneficial if you need to talk through this process with other people on your team, and in a way that gets them on board with what you're doing, which I highly encourage you to do. So you'll end up on that page. Any other time that you log in after today, you're going to end up on the blog page. And the reason we did that is because we want to interact with you. We want to create an environment where we are communicating with each other, which is why we also have the Facebook group as well. So, and we'll be encouraging you to join that as well at some point. So you'll start with the overview page. Any other time you log in, you'll come to the blog page. A couple of points that you might find interesting or you might need to know. This My Accounts page will tell you what your membership level is and how long you've been a member. Now, that's important because if you are a free member or if you are a silver member, you're going to have some limitations on the platform. Which is fine, but just know that that start date is what determines when you'll have access to future modules, and I'll show you how you'll know that in just a moment. Make sure that we have complete address information for you, and then if you need to update your passwords, you would do it right here. And then any other time you come to the login page, you're going to have, it'll pre-fill your information once you have logged in with your right credentials the first time. So there's all that. Now, if you're a free member, if you've just signed up to kind of check this out, the first thing you're going to do once you get in here is you're going to want to go over to the free module page. And here's the video. You'll notice, just not to be too elementary, but this button right here, if you click this, it's going to give you a full screen option, which may be important, may not be. But you'll notice that there's some copy in here, and we kind of talk about the reason that we as a church need to really be focused on growing our church, the one big church. So that's that page. There's that information. A side note, feel free, the email that you got that has your login credentials in it, feel free to share that with other people at your church and on your team. We'd ask that you not share it with people outside of your team, especially if you're a paid member, but we want you to share it with other people that are going to help you make this decision, because we understand that this is not a program that works very well in a vacuum. So you can't do this on your own. So make sure that you're sharing that information. And then if you click on this free downloads, you will notice in the free module, there are several things here. There's the presentation. When you watch the module, you're going to see Jerry's going to cover a lot of ground. The PowerPoint presentation he uses in that, along with the notes, is included here. I clicked through on it so you could see what it looks like, but this is the Dropbox Documents version, so it doesn't have the notes in it. But if you download it to your computer, you'll have access to the notes as well. And then we go back over here and we look at the Jumpstart documents. Again, when you go through the module, all this will make a lot more sense because Jerry's referencing this information all the way through. And then the last thing is a document that gives you kind of some go-to points, how to get going. And again, it'll make more sense when you go through the module, but the idea is to leave each module with an action plan that your team is on board with. So that's what that's for. And then the last thing is the audio of Module 1. We understand that it's difficult to sit down and spend an hour and 45 minutes in front of the computer sometimes. So we wanted to put the information in a format that you could use while you're on the go. So do that. I will tell you this, the way I use this myself is I download it to my Dropbox folder, and then I open that folder on my iPhone, and I can select this module and actually listen to it right from Dropbox. I don't have to import it into iTunes or anything like that. So for people that are moderately advanced users, that may be an option for you. If you really want to figure out how to do that, go to YouTube and just put in iPhone and Dropbox, and it's a pretty simple process. If you are a silver member, you are going to have access, in addition to free module, you're going to have access to Module 1. And this is where we really dive into vision. That's the starting point for the process. You can go through the video and find out more about the details of that. So just like in Module 0, you're going to get the presentation, the PowerPoint presentation that is used in the video. You're going to get the handout to share with your team. You can print as many copies as you want. You're going to get the audio for this module that you can listen to again through Dropbox, or you can download it to your computer and listen to it. And in addition to that, we're giving you two other things in this module to really get the ball rolling. One is the sermon books, which is 7 of Jerry's messages where he's got the notes and the outline for it. And we're working on putting the audio in here as well. But it's Jerry's super detailed notes for each one of these sermon series along with the graphic. Now, the benefit to you for that, and I'm sure that you guys are very aware of how much time goes into sermon preparation. We wanted to do something that would give you a jump start, at least for a little while, on a few sermon series, so that you had some extra time to spend on this growing your church, working on the church instead of working in the church, right? So there's that. And then the last thing is this gifts and passions profile. So I'm going to jump over real quick and show you what that is. This is the basis for everything that 24toDouble is about. These 7 teams that we're going to help you develop over the next couple of years, they're all predicated on the gifts test, putting the right people on the right team in the right seat on that team. And this spiritual gifts inventory, or the gifts and passions profile, is where all that information comes from. And we'll talk in greater depth in one of the modules about this, but we wanted to go ahead and give it to you so that you can take it, test it, play around with it, maybe share it with people on your team and begin to get familiar with how this tool works. So that's available to you as well. So the last thing I wanted to run down with you is just the modules on the right hand side here. Each one of the modules is outlined here, and you can click on any of them and look in and see what that module is going to be about. There's a couple things I want to point out here to you as well. If you'll remember back to the My Accounts page where there's a member sense, well, that date is what determines when each module is unlocked for you. And if you go into any one of these modules, like this is Module 5, and this login profile I'm using will have access to that on November 1st or November 30th of 2013. So that's kind of how that works. You'll also notice that there's a link here to an upgrade page. We have found that a lot of churches need to go ahead and get their feet wet with 24toDouble, but once they do, they want to move a little faster than we move in the modules. Number one, we want to caution you about taking too much of this information in at one time and trying to go through everything before you implement anything. That is absolutely not the way to do this. That's the perfect way to overwhelm yourself. However, if you and your team are already moving pretty fast and you want to go ahead and dive deeper into the materials and maybe even jump ahead in the modules, then the way to do that is to go ahead and upgrade to the gold membership. And there'll always be a link in there for you to be able to go ahead and do that. If you have any questions about that, you can email me at richard@richardchancey.com. Okay, so that's it. That's how you make the most out of the free resources. Now, here's the thing. You cannot grow a church by yourself. I know that you've probably been told, or, the idea is that the paid people on staff are the ones that get paid to grow the church and reach the community. But the reality of the situation is you can't do it alone. You've got to bring some people in around this thing with yourself. So here's what I would do if I was you. I would take the resources that we're making available here to you, and I would create an event around those resources. For instance, I might take a piece of one of these videos and have the leaders, the influencers in my church come in, feed them dinner one night, and just sit down, watch a few minutes of the video, maybe pick out a special spot in it, just to create the conversation. Because here's what's happening. People think that you're getting it done, and you know you're not. You know that there's no way that one or two people can grow a church. It takes the whole community to grow the church. That's number one. Number two, practically, from a fundamental standpoint about what it means to be a believer, you and I both know that the best way to live is the way that the Bible tells us to live, to be generous, right? To be generous not just with our resources, but also with our time. And when we can get people involved in more things around the church and they begin to give of themselves, all of a sudden, the other things that they're struggling with, the materialism, right? The fact that they're out of jobs, when they look around and they see people that have a worse situation than they do, all of a sudden they begin to grow spiritually and they begin to do more. So I would take these resources, even if you and I never meet or we never talk again or you don't become a 24toDouble client, I'm fine with that. If it creates a conversation around the table with your key influencers that leads to change in your church, that's what we're doing here. So take these. If you have questions for me, if there's anything else we can do for you, email me. It's richard@richardchancey.com. I'd be glad to help in any way that I can. Thank you.